Welcome to Beyond Bosch. I'm your host, Jessica Dahl. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe and leave a review for this episode if you like it. So today I am so excited. We're talking about the need for speed and safety. Today joining us, we have Greg Vandersluis. He's the lead driver's training instructor at the Bosch Proving Grounds in Flat Rock, Michigan, and also the Winter Proving Grounds in Baudette, Minnesota. Thank you so much for being here today, Greg.
Jessica, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I barely introduced you. Could you just go ahead and let the audience know who you are and what you're about?
Sure. I lead our driver's training program down here at Flat Rock Proving Grounds and also our winter test facility up in Baudette. I'm 6'8". I don't play basketball. It's the first question everybody asks.
Always.
I jumped behind the wheel of a race car, and that was it for me. So I can't throw a football to save my life or make a basket in basketball if I'm standing right in front of it, but I seem to do well behind the wheel. I've been here at Bosch for almost 6 years now. It's hard to believe. Time's flown by when you're having fun.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so I mean, the first thing I thought of when you said you're 6'8" and then you get into a race car, is it kind of a tight fit? Like, I've never actually been in a race car, but
it depends on the car. I can't run any cars or open wheel cars, but a lot of times in the classes that I run, you can actually modify where the driver's seat is, and you can actually get yourself down a lot lower and farther back. So it's like, yeah, you're climbing into a clown car, but it's actually got a lot more room in it than people think.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I picture. I was like, how's this guy doing this? Awesome. So first of all, I mean, you're a race car driver, but you also lead driver's training. So to me, that's interesting. Like, that's kind of a juxtaposition. Can you tell me a little bit more about like what you actually do?
Yeah, it's funny because there couldn't be a bigger difference between driving a race car and doing instruction here at the Proving Grounds. We're very focused on safety, right? We want everybody to go home safe at the end of the day. So it's not all out limit handling driving 100% of the time. There's really a lot of theory behind it, right? And making sure our engineers are safe behind the wheel, in order to tune and calibrate our traction control, stability control, and ABS systems.
So it's so interesting because this is kind of bringing me back a little bit, Greg. When I started at Bosch, I was an intern. And I worked in the chassis division, and we spent some time at the Proving Grounds in Flat Rock, which I had no idea what Proving Grounds meant or where Flat Rock was. I just kind of jumped into this internship and wanted to get some marketing experience, right? And I just I actually had to go through some of the driver's training program there in order to help we would bring customers on site. And so I had to go through this program, and I was freaking out. I remember being like, what do you want me to do? You want me to drive without a safety system on? Like, I didn't even know that was possible. Like, it was such an experience. But after that, I felt so much more confident. I will say, like, just driving on my own, just in any situation, like when the weather gets bad, I feel like I know what to do just from that. And that was like 15 years ago. So
yeah, sure.
I mean, it stuck with me, so I think it's really interesting that now you kind of bring me back. But so is that who do you kind of train? Like, who are the people that you train?
Anyone and everyone. I mean, it's anything from internal engineers, right, and our own internal people, to externals who rent the facility. But it's mainly application and calibration engineers who actually have to do work at the Proving Grounds, whether that's here in Flat Rock or Baudette, Minnesota. But also same thing when customer organizations come in, they have to meet the same requirements and competencies behind the wheel that our internal associates do. So it's a mix match blend of a lot of different things, but it's really 90% internal and probably 10% customer based.
Sure. So what got you into this? Why are you so passionate about vehicle safety?
I'm a lucky guy, honest to God. I never knew this kind of position existed ever. I mean, I knew there was racing instruction, defensive driving programs. And when I found out about this position through a fellow competitor, I go, they do that stuff? We do driver's training at Proving Grounds? I knew of, the Proving Ground atmosphere and what goes on, but I didn't know there was driver's training. It's like, why? We're already driving out, on the surfaces. Why do we have to have that? And really when it comes down to it, it's all about making sure our associates are safe. They have the right, mindset behind the wheel, the right they're competent behind the wheel. Really it goes into a legality standpoint, right? God forbid that we put somebody behind the wheel that doesn't necessarily have that skill set, and something happens to them, something bad happens to the car, or even worse, themselves. That's not a very good look for us, right? So we really want to make sure that everybody is super confident behind the wheel. They know exactly what to do when a system should fail or running any one of their various maneuvers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can speak to that. You guys run a legit operation down there. I know it's very secure and it's very like there's always a protocol to follow. And I remember kind of being like, what do I do? You know, walkie-talkies everywhere and everything.
Right, right.
But exactly, you want that. Like that makes you feel good as someone coming from the inside to your facility, you know?
And you got to have fun with it. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain element you definitely have to pass in order to complete your job, right? But we really like to have a lot of fun with it. We like to build people up. We don't like to knock them down, right? And I put myself in their shoes coming in, stepping into something I've never done before. I'd be losing my mind too. I'd be like, what, you want me to do this in 1 or 2 days? You got to be out of your mind, right? But it's all about building that associate up, making them feel comfortable, resonating with that person, and taking it from there, and the rest flows.
Yeah, that's awesome. So can you tell me a little bit about you kind of shared a little of like what your day looks like at Flat Rock, anyone and everyone, but what about Baudette, Minnesota? Because that sounds kind of intense. Like all I've heard is like ice fishing and it's really cold and snowy. Like tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we're actually preparing to get up there here. My training cars actually ship out next week. So we're kind of running around, changing gears, if you will. But there is also a level 2 winter test endorsement that you have to have up there in order to work on the low muse surfaces. So your snow field, your ice field. And it's cold and it's out in the middle of nowhere. And you can ice fish if you want. You can play hockey if you want. I don't do either one of those. But we're really on site 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you think about it, the winter season, there's only 3 months in order to do all of our work, right? Where here in the summer months, spring, we've got 9 months. So you're basically taking all this work, condensing it down into 3 months. And that's why we're on site so often. Literally, one hotel that we stay at, one restaurant in town I always like to joke around about. So you get to know the people in town very well and you see them quite frequently.
Yeah, that's a different experience, right?
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay, now I want to kind of come back to the race car driving situation. Like, what is that all about? How did you get into it? What does that look like?
Well, my grandfather raced for about 15 years competitively in SCCA, Sports Car Club of America. And it really, I was super close to my grandfather. He unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But as a kid, everything is so big to you, right? You look up at your parents or your grandparents, you go, oh my gosh, like how can I be like you? How can I even pull anything like that up, right? So I always wanted to be like my grandfather. And looking back, he got a late start to racing. He was about 50 years old when he started racing. He wanted to make sure my aunt and my dad were out of school, right? He didn't have to raise kids because auto racing back then was super dangerous. I mean, it's not safe. I mean, it's still kind of sketchy, but it's nowhere near as dangerous as it was back then. And my grandmother said, Bernie, you've got 2 young kids to raise. I can't do this on my own. I don't want to see anything happen to you. So he postponed that. But I always wanted to be like my grandfather. And hearing the stories of his fellow competitors go, we all tried to gang up and we tried to beat Bernie. We could just never do it. He had this little extra edge. And you talk to my grandfather and he was humble as could be. He's like, I wasn't that good. He was the ultimate pessimist and my grandma was the ultimate optimist. They mixed together like oil and water, but they were married for over 50 years. So that's really how I got into it. I was fortunate enough, the last car he raced, he actually kept through the family, and I actually started racing in that car. So it was a Honda Civic, and it held many special memories for our family. And basically took it from there. I got hooked, and he loved that I had the passion for it like he did. He kind of saw himself in me, right, a younger version of himself, and the rest is history.
Oh, that is such a good story. That gave me goosebumps. That's just really, what a gift. Like that's legacy, right? Like being able to share that and pass that down. That's
right.
Awesome.
And I'm super fortunate. I'm really a lucky guy, to be able to do what I do on a daily basis and travel the country, racing nationally. It's been great. It's been a ride for sure.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, literally.
So you've taken, from what I hear, you've taken, your passion for all things, driving and safety and also making it fun and adapted it to training some teen drivers. Is this something I understand correctly? Can you tell me
Yeah,
more
no,
about that?
you're 100% correct. I never in a million years that I think I'd be instructing somebody or talking. I'm like, I just want to do. I don't want to volunteer. I don't want to work. I'm 19 years old. I'm like, it's all about me, right? When you're that age.
Yeah.
And I got the invite to instruct at an SCCA driver's school, and I'm like, why do you want me? I have no experience. Well, they were looking for volunteers. They're like, don't worry, we'll help you, we'll guide you. You'll get into a rhythm. You're good with people. You're outspoken and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, sure, I guess. And I ended up doing volunteering when I was 19 years old at that driver's school, and it clicked for me. And I'm going, wait a minute, I'm sharing my passion with others, and other people have helped me get to where I'm at today. This is kind of cool. It's very fulfilling, right? And you don't know unless you ask. And my next great accomplishment was becoming a instructor at the Mid-Ohio School. And this is something that not a lot of people get to do. A lot of drivers get to do over their career. It's looked very highly upon as a very prestigious school. And I wrote the chief instructor saying, hey, I'm local. I got some racing experience. I love instructing. And at that time, they were looking for somebody. And that grew into that. And then I was like, well, this is really cool. What else can I go and do? And the longer you're in, I would say not the business, even though racing kind of is a business, but the longer you're in that community, it's a very tight-knit community. And this person knows this person knows this person. It's all about networking, right? And I started doing defensive driving programs a long time ago. Same thing. I started at Mid-Ohio. Well, I'm a race car driver. I'm not going to be teaching kids how to drive. That's below me, right? Like, oh, come on, just give it a shot. I'm like, all right, fine. You talk me into it. And again, similar to how I started in Mid-Ohio, I did my first, defensive driving program with the kids, and I loved it. I fell in love right away. The kids come in as a clean slate. A lot of people that come in with the racing schools, the high performance, they already have their helmet on. I'm already a race car driver. Nothing you can teach me that I don't already know. I'm going to teach you how to drive. The kids don't have that, and they absorb everything that you tell them. And by the end of the day, they don't want to leave. When they first get there, they're like, this is stupid. It's going to be driver's education.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, why am I going back to driver's ed? We had to watch a movie. We had to watch cars crash into each other to scare us to drive better. But we actually get them behind the wheel. We get them feeling what the car's doing. We do skid car, right? So when the car's sliding, what should you do with the car? We do emergency lane changes, right? What happens if something happens in front of you out on the highway? How can you evasively get out of the way? We also do a wet braking drill, right? Knowing how our ABS is not only our anti-lock braking system, but it's our ability to brake and steer at the same time. And you can make it all theory-based, but you can't keep the attention of teenagers, right? It's like we don't want to hear anybody in a room talk for more than 10 minutes or we're out, right? So getting them in the car and getting them that seat time and that feeling of what it's doing just lights everybody up, and I feed off that energy. They feed off of me, and I'm like, actually really like doing this stuff. And that led me down a different path. I wouldn't say a different path, the same path, but another opportunity with Robbie Buell. Robbie Buell used to run Indy cars professionally back in the 80s and the 90s, and got linked up with him. And we've been doing stuff down at Belle Isle in Detroit. Same stuff. It's a nonprofit, 503c. And it's based on the same thing, kind of like we do at Mid-Ohio as well. Get the kids in there, get them seat time, have them experience what's going on. So that by far is probably, you can ask any race car driver that instructs and does this stuff. That's our favorite program to do. Because not only do the kids have it, I think the parents have more fun just being in the classroom going, oh, wow, I never knew that. I've been driving for 30 years. Because that's adults, you can't tell us anything we don't already know. Well, I've been driving for 25, 30 years. There's nothing you can teach me, right? It's almost guys coming for the high performance and racing program. Yeah. And this is why adult defensive driving program has really not taken off at all, because nobody thinks they need it. Parents say, oh, the kids are brand new. Yeah, absolutely. We got to get them behind the wheel. And the parents sometimes end up leaving with more knowledge sometimes than the kids do. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's cool to see the parents get involved too.
Absolutely. Oh, I feel that just with like my kids' homework. Like as I'm helping with their homework now, I'm like, oh, don't remember that, or I never learned that, so it's like
Right, right.
for sure a great avenue.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. And sounds very like it's very fulfilling. Your passion's obviously coming through.
Yep.
So what I mean, and maybe this is what you're the most proud of, but what is something that you're just the most proud of, or can you summarize something that just like you're like, I love this about my job or what I'm doing? Like, what is that?
I mean, we'll start with Bosch here. I love the people I work with. Um, there are so many bright, smart individuals around here, and just for me to be amongst these individuals is truly rewarding, and you learn something new every day. But we also like to keep it light and fun down here. There's been marketing events that have gone on that you know about. That it's kind of a vibe we have down here. So it's not all laid back, we do, there's still a lot of stuff going on, deadlines we have to meet and everybody's running around on fire, right? But no, I like the atmosphere. I like the people I work with. Something that I'm super proud of. I don't want to make it sound selfish. I mean, I've done a lot with my racing, but probably the biggest thing is giving back. Whether that's coaching individual, race car drivers, doing high performance programs, but really that teenage defensive driving program where you're definitely making a difference out there, because it's like, I got to be on the road with these teenagers, right? I don't want to get caught up in somebody's wreck or them not understanding
Right.
what's going on. So I will play the selfish role. I want to make sure that we train as many, young drivers out on the road as possible, right? To make sure that no incidents or issues happen. But when you do stuff like that, it really comes back full circle. You get what you put in. And so many times today in the world that we live in, it's all about take. Selfishness, right? And when you can actually just put the brakes on and give back, whether that's volunteering in your town, in your city, doing stuff that I do with the defensive driving program, it's rewarding. It's definitely rewarding. And, we've received letters from parents of these teenagers that have come through the program. And you look at the name and you go, there's been so many kids that we've dealt with. I'm not sure which one it was, but, they'll say, hey, my child was just nearly involved in almost a fatal accident, but because of what they learned from you and your team down at Mid-Ohio or at Robbie Buell, my student or my child knew exactly what to do. Here I am with the teacher hat on, your student, right? But, my child was able to identify, right, and get out of the way of that accident, and they could have, been seriously hurt. And when you read it, you go, oh, okay. And then you're walking away and you go, whoa. It kind of hits you and you go, wow.
Yeah.
Difference. So I would say that's probably my proudest moment is helping the kids. Not so much about me, but about them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, I think a lot of times people don't get to know what the difference that it is that they're making, so for you to get that feedback is such a gift, right?
Absolutely. That's like, am I doing a good job? And you get stuff like this. You're like, okay, yeah, I guess I am doing a good job, or all of us. It's not just me. It's a whole team of instructors. We're a big family too when we do these events, and we all feed off of each other too. So it's like we're all doing a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to ask, I like to ask everybody who comes on the show, just for a piece of advice to leave with the audience. And it could be career, it could be personal, it could be something someone shared with you. What would you say is your piece of advice?
I'll go off on a tangent here real quick, but there's a song by Triumph, an old classic rock band, Fight the Good Fight. I love my classic rock. Rush is my favorite band. Shout out to Rush. But anyway, I seem to be 20 years behind the time I should be in. But, their song Fight the Good Fight, again, like I was saying, what you put in, you get out. And there's a lot of negativity around the world. There's a lot of selfishness, a lot of taking, a lot of people running people over, not literally, but, it's just a narrative. But, be somebody's positive light for the day. Whether it's saying, hey, what's going on, right? Sometimes you might see people that are kind of off to the side. They don't want to be a part of the team. It's like, hey, get over here. What's going on? How are you? And, just as something as simple as saying hi with a smile on your face, and I like positive energy, as probably everybody can tell, or everybody that knows me that works with me. You build people up, right? Because, you know, the satisfaction you get from that will carry me for the rest of the day. You know, it's like, oh, cool, they were engaged, they were active, they're having fun, or you know, they're like, oh, hey, thanks for asking, or just whatever the case may be. So, you know, it's important to know that.
I love that advice. I think that that's needed more than ever. And it's simple, right? It's simple things we can do.
It doesn't cost you anything. I mean, it doesn't cost me anything to go out and say, hey, how are you today? Wow, it took a couple of breaths and 2 seconds of my time to make the difference in somebody's life, possibly, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, really also just getting to know people, talking to them, you know, and I've learned so much throughout my coaching instructing career, but really here at Bosch, you know, you deal with so many different associates from different countries, right? Different nationalities. How do they communicate, right? Maybe they don't communicate like I do. They have a different way about it. And just understanding who they are and just asking some key questions like, hey, well, where are you from? Well, you know, I'm from Germany. Where about in Germany? Oh, you know, more towards, you know, Stuttgart. Oh, I remember, you know, I visited, did you, and you just click. Well, yeah, these siblings, you just move along like that, and it makes all the difference in your relationship, and it takes a whopping, like I said, a few seconds to get to know somebody, and that can mean the difference, all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. I love that. So everyone go out and go talk to somebody today, you know, go smile at them. If you're listening to this, take a few minutes to make someone's day.
Right. Exactly.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Greg. This has been such a pleasure. You can feel your passion coming through. It's really exciting to hear what you guys are doing at Flat Rock and Baudette, and what you're doing personally on the teen driving instructor side. We just thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us.
Sure. Shout out Bosch Flat Rock Proving Grounds off of Telegraph. Come visit us anytime.
Oh, that's awesome. Can anybody just come by?
But no, not really.
Okay.
That's the reason. But it's funny when you say, you know, I didn't even know Flat Rock was there, and it's so well hidden. I remember I was ordering some tires or something one time, and the delivery driver goes, I can't find this address. I'm like, well, it's behind Flat Rock Speedway. Well, there's no Speedway in Flat Rock. I'm like, yeah, there is. No, I don't see any gas station. No. It's the Flat Rock Speedway. Oh, we never knew you guys were even back there. So that's how you can find us.
Yeah. It's a mystery spot. I like it. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Greg, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jessica. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Beyond Bosch Podcast. In case you missed our other episodes, now's your chance. Go back and take a listen.